What if one of the greatest scientific minds in human history, the man who decoded gravity, invented calculus, mapped the laws of motion, also left behind a secret prediction, a date, a moment he believed would mark the end of our age? Not the end of Earth, not the universe collapsing, but the shutdown of this version of reality. This is the hidden prophecy of Isaac Newton and the mystery of the year 2060. People imagine Newton as the ultimate rationalist, but what they don't teach you in school is this. Newton wrote more pages about God, prophecy, alchemy, and forbidden knowledge than about science. To him, the universe wasn't just physical, it was coded, a simulation running on divine mathematics. He once said, "God is a mathematician." And in private notes he never intended to publish, Newton tried to crack the script of the Book of Daniel and Revelation. These were not the ravings of a mystic. This was the world's greatest calculator, calculating. Newton believed prophetic time worked like encrypted data. He took the biblical phrase, "time times and half a time," and decoded it as 1,260 prophetic years. Then he identified what he thought was the starting point. Around 800 AD, the rise of the Holy Roman Empire. So, he added 800 plus 1,260 equals 2,060, but Newton was careful. He didn't shout it from the rooftops. He whispered it. In one letter, he wrote, "It may end later, but I see no reason for it to end sooner than 2060. He wasn't predicting fire and destruction. He was predicting a phase shift in human history, a reset. To Newton, the end of the world meant the collapse of corrupt systems, the end of false authority, the breakdown of a spiritual monopoly, and the beginning of a new alignment. He imagined a world where human institutions lose control and something higher or older takes over the script. Some would call that prophecy. Others would call that an upgrade to the simulation. Now fast forward. We live in a world of collapsing trust in institutions, artificial intelligence rewriting reality, digital identities, global interconnection, truth filtered through algorithms, prophecy interpreted by machines. Newton believed God was the programmer, but he also believed humans could read the code if they were brave enough. It raises the question, did Newton foresee a spiritual event or a technological one? A moment where humanity crosses a threshold and the operating system of civilization changes. 2060 isn't a doomsday, it's a version number. If Newton is right, if 2060 marks a transition, then the real question isn't, when does the world end? It's, what does the world become? A new spiritual awakening? A collapse and rebirth of power structures? A shift in consciousness? A reboot of this simulation we call existence? Newton saw the universe as structured code. Maybe 2060 is simply the next patch. To understand why Isaac Newton became obsessed with prophecy, we need to understand the landscape of his mind. Newton lived in a world where science was not yet separated from spirituality. For him, the search for truth meant following every thread: mathematics, astronomy, scripture, alchemy, history. In his notebooks, equations sit beside biblical timelines. Optical diagrams appear next to translations of ancient Hebrew. He analyzed prophecy with the same discipline he applied to the falling of an apple. What emerges from these pages is not a scientist who lost his way, but a thinker who refused to divide the universe into physical and metaphysical. To Newton, there was only one reality, a structured, intelligible system, a system that could be measured, decoded, predicted. He believed that if God authored the universe, then prophecy was simply another form of natural law, an encrypted message waiting for the right mind to solve it. That mind, he believed, was his. And so, Newton, the man who gave us calculus, also attempted something far bolder: to calculate the fate of an entire civilization.